Good morning, everyone. Today is the 7th of January, 2020. You see, I said I would do that. I'm going to be having a little difficulty with that for just a little bit yet. So it is 2020, 2020. I'm Roy Potter. Welcome as you come in. I do believe the chat is on. I think I set all that up this morning. And I know I'm getting started at a little different time than I normally do, but it's for a number of reasons. The lighting where I am is not really good right now. Most of the light that you see on me is coming from my computer screen, so you're going to see it come in and out. There are some reasons for that, but I think we'll be okay. The big thing, of course, is the sound. And at this new location, I'm not sure how that's going to be, so maybe you can let me know if I've got a file. Okay, great. Sarah's already up there. She's already let me know. Great. Superb. And I'm going to go back to this screen so I can keep track of what's happening here. All righty. All right. So why did I call this Sun Tzu or chaos? Well, if you don't know the answer to that, you're really not paying attention. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this entire thing in Iran and Iraq has turned into something quite the other. I will say a couple things. It's been a while since I've been talking about it. If you're following me on Twitter, you'll see the type of messages, the types of tweets that I'm putting out. And I've sent a lot to President Trump. Not that he gets them, but, we all need to speak up. At this point in time, anybody who's being quiet, I wanted to give up last summer. Well, things are even worse now as far as I can tell. But I just figure that like Nancy Morgenhart of Headlines with a Voice and Gigi Sims there on Twitter said to me, we can't be quiet now. We've got to make a lot of noise, and I agree. And I'm going to bring up someone this morning that I thought would she's always alluded to the fact that she was concerned about these things, and I'll tell you about that in a minute, but she finally spoke up on Twitter today. So this thing in Iran and Iraq is totally out of control as far as I can tell. And I think I'd like to read something to you from, you'll notice I have some things up here. We're going to talk about Don Jr. in a minute. But I'm referencing Richard Higgins a lot lately because, again, he was in the White House. He's a straight shooting guy. Again, we don't agree on 100% of everything. You never will. And I still have to defer to him on a great deal of what he says because I'm not there, right? He has been and I'm not. Rich, from what I can tell, when this thing in Iraq first went down, he was very critical of what the scenario was, I think, of what we were being fed. And I am as well. And I don't know where he is on that right now. He seems to be shifting a little bit more towards the supporting of the assassination of Soleimani, and that's really what that was. But I'm being cautious still. And you'll say, Roy, why? Why would you do that? Well, I think that's what we're going to talk about somewhat today. But I still give a lot of credence to Rich Higgins as he analyzes these things and talks about it. I don't consider Soleimani to be a terrorist in the normal genre. And, of course, that's going to infuriate a lot of people. But I'll explain why in a few minutes, okay? Let me read what Rich Higgins is saying. I still don't trust the Senate. McConnell is criticizing the Democrats for what they're doing, but it's worse than that. And so I'd like to read this to you, what Rich Higgins says. This is in a tweet that he put out, I guess, let's see, when was it? I'm not sure. Probably this morning. Quote, due to the ongoing effort of the Marxist left, the Democrats, we are not, in fact, all Americans. Haven't I been saying that? The Marxists are shredding our culture, history, traditions, borders, and heritage. We ignore this threat, which may be the largest we face, to our great peril. Instead, President Trump is still engaged in international politics. international diplomacy. When he first came into office, I said, and I hate this, no, I don't mind. I'm going to go ahead and say it just like I am. I said that if we don't clean our house first and start to try to clean everybody else's, that we're going to end up in a jam here. And that's exactly what's happened. Look what Virginia's doing. Look what they're doing all over the country, the leftist Marxists. Look what they're doing with the shadow government with Obama. I have no doubt that Iran, all right, I mean, John Kerry went there. He's been there recently. Obama and Hillary, they've been using Iran for a long time. I know that. Same with North Korea. We've talked about that. Anybody who's been with me for any length of time knows that I've been discussing these issues for a long time. Of course, the shadow government of the United States, of course, the cronies, of course, the leftist Marxists like Hillary, like Brennan, etc., have been using Iran and North Korea and a lot of these other places for their own purposes. They're almost shadow governments of our shadow government. That's how serious this is. And so I agree with Rich. But and the only reason that I can think of, if Trump is in his right mind, and if Trump really has the concerns of the Constitution, which I sometimes wonder, or at least the American people on his mind, and trying to stop the cabal, the deep state, the shadow government, would be to attack one of the leaders of a foreign country just like he did and said, I don't care about this anymore. We're not going to kill millions of people so that the leaders can run this war and then end up, on the good side and fat and happy. No, we're going to make this a leaders' war right now. We're going to say, if you want to go down this road, we're going to take out the leaders, no more the little people. Hey, I'm for that. I'm not sure that's what's happening here. There was a picture of General Milley along with the Secretary of Defense Esper. And if you look at Milley, I wanted to show you that picture this morning, but I can't find it. But he looks like a deer in the headlights like General Milley does. Now, why would that be? Well, sometimes you get caught off guard in a picture, that could be or whatever. But I have a clue here that I think he's realizing that if our country is willing to take out a senior general of a foreign country, in other words, basically target that general. And again, I have no problem with that because I'm tired of the little people fighting the wars and getting killed and maimed. I don't mind the leaders going out there and battling it out themselves. I think that's great. But what's Milley thinking? Oh my gosh, am I now a target? Probably. That's a possibility, or the other possibility is, oh crap, Trump grabbed somebody, another part of the Defense Department, who it is, I'm not willing to say, and pulled this op off, right? I mean, remember, the military, after the contractor was killed and those people were hurt at K1, I think without consulting Trump, or at least not explaining the situation to him, went, as Rich Higgins said, and attacked a militia base 300 kilometers away who are fighting ISIS and Al-Qaeda, who I doubt even actually attacked the K1. And I think they did that without telling Trump. So I think it's possible. It's possible. I'm not saying it is, but I think it's possible that Trump did this on his own somehow without going through the Department of Defense as far as taking out Soleimani. This whole thing is just absolutely crazy. And I know there are people vying for power here, but let's consider, as I've seen a lot of commentators say, do you know who Soleimani was before all this happened? No. Yet everybody in the world now is saying, oh, this is the world's biggest terrorist, etc., and that's all BS. If Soleimani is a terrorist, so is the commander of our joint Special Operations Command. Okay? That's what this is like. And people don't get it. People don't get it. Yeah, Soleimani is probably responsible for making IEDs and all these things. I understand that. But by and large, he was attacking military targets. That is not terrorism. I'm sorry. It's not. Judge Jeanine is even repeating this nonsense. If we consider Soleimani an enemy, fine, but you can't attack him as a terrorist. You can't do that. You can take him out as a military command and control. I have no problem with that. But I'm sick and tired of this terrorist baloney. We take it to the... And I warned about this back in the 80s when I went through the terrorism counteraction course. I warned about it, that it would be used improperly. You kill soldiers, that's a military operation. Sorry, people, that's the way it is. And that goes both ways. Soleimani was helping to take out ISIS and Al-Qaeda. It's interesting. They're not talking about that. A few people are, but not many. So I'm going to go back to Milley for a minute. What's going on with Milley? One, is he thinking, man, I could be a target now? Oh, no, I want my soldiers to be a target. I want civilians to be a target. I want to make sure I end up on top. Is that what he's thinking? Or is he thinking, uh-oh, Trump's taking out our support base. He's attacking the allies of the likes of Obama, Hillary, Brennan, etc. Now, Brennan's actually allied with Saudi Arabia. This whole Sunni Shiite thing is very complicated for most Americans to understand. Heck, I studied the history and understand the politics, and it even gets wacky for me. Do I trust Trump? As I said in a lot of my tweets here in the last couple of days, until I see some people in handcuffs, no, I still don't. What's happening now could be any number of things, and I frankly I can't take it apart. I don't understand what's happening here. Honestly, I don't. I got to tell you about what Rich Higgins said about Petraeus. You notice Petraeus is saying, oh, it's a good thing to take out Soleimani. Do you realize who Petraeus is, who he is? Petraeus is not the friend of the United States. He is not. I called that out a long time ago. This is what Richard Higgins said. I think he sent this out this morning as well. Okay? I don't trust Petraeus. Why is he saying it was a good thing to take out Soleimani? Because they want... It's like I said about a week ago when this thing first started. Less than a week ago, just a few days ago. They want war. They don't care whether it's for the right reason or not. Okay? So Petraeus is going to push this as it was a good thing to take out Soleimani so that now, they can use that as a justification, whatever. The point is that the deep state, the shadow government, wins whether this thing happens or not. Do you understand that? This is what Rich Higgins said. Because of Petraeus sticking his nose in this stuff. Somebody needs to tell Petraeus to go into retirement and shut the hell up. I guess they could say that about me. But Petraeus is a traitor. Why is anyone listening to Petraeus? First, he is butt snorkeling in order to get a job in the Trump administration. He has been from the start. Why? Well, obviously to control things. Second, he is a Hillary supporter. Yep. Third, he is a general forever war. Yeah. And then Richard Higgins makes a quote. Quote, faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. Proverbs 27:6. Apparently, and how long have I been talking about Petraeus? And McCraven and McChrystal and several others since 2009. Richard Higgins gets it. I love it when he does that and verifies my concerns. Of course, I worked for Petraeus. I remember. So where are we right now? Well, this is the era, the age of lies and deceit. As I put out when this thing started last week, I said, of course, it's an old statement. Most of you know what it is. The first casualty of war is truth. Isn't that the truth? Let's see how we're doing here. I just noticed we might be having a little problem. Let's see where we are. Yeah. I noticed Lionel's been having a lot of trouble too. I think generally all of us who do this are running into technical problems that we didn't have as much of before. So I think that's partly what's happening here. I just noticed that my microphone is even seeming to act up a little bit here. So there's not much I can do about that. And I doubt that it is my microphone, but I'll just keep going. Cool here, loud and clear. Okay, I'll keep it. Sorry, I got to do that, but I got to tell you, this gets freaky after a while with the way this stuff happens. As you recall, what happened on the Higgins interview, that was just disgusting, and that was definitely not my equipment doing that. So you run into these problems, and it's very aggravating. Okay, I'm sorry I got off the topic. Trump has failed to act, and I've been telling you that for the longest time. Whether it was a plan or not, and I don't think it was, to do it the way everything's turned out, the bottom line is he didn't hit him hard up front. Okay, and that was a problem, and it's been a problem. He even said he wasn't going to. Remember, I'm not going to, and this is old stuff, I'm not going to arrest Hillary and the Clintons. They're good people. Oh, good people, my gosh. And then we have all this other going on. Look, this to President Trump, I got to tell you this, okay? You're losing your people. You're losing, and maybe that was all planned. That, like I've said before, is it possible that Trump was in fact representing us? He was the icon of that. He was the archetype of that, and they've destroyed him to destroy our hope because we're the real target. Yeah, that could very well be. Do you know who Code of Vets is? Do you know Gretchen Smith, folks out there? Do you know who she is? Gretchen Smith sent out a tweet. If you're not on Twitter, if you don't know who Gretchen Smith is, let me tell you who she is. She's a vet, an Air Force vet, a mother, wife and mother. I believe she lives in Tennessee. Could be wrong about that, but I think that's where it is. And she started an organization called Code of Vets. Well, actually, that's what it is. And her organization has helped homeless vets, injured vets, et cetera, et cetera. Put out calls for vets that are having problems, things like that. Let me read you a tweet that she sent out. In other words, she's a wonderful, wonderful woman, okay, who's done the best with what she has. She's well known in vet circles. I think she's actually met General Flynn and others like that. This is what she said. This is Gretchen Smith. I have zero faith in our current system. Corruption has overridden justice. Wow. Let me say that again. I have zero faith in our current system. Corruption has overridden justice. Ladies and gentlemen, Trump has waited too long, and if he doesn't act soon, and maybe that's the plan, not to act, but to do exactly what's been happening. But for Gretchen to say that, again, I know that my concerns have been right on the money and serious. This is very, 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 very bad. Trump could be striking the shadow government's control overseas on the international scene. Or he could just be blundering through this. I frankly don't know. The DOD could have set him up. The Pentagon could have set him up on this thing. Again, I have no problem with taking out. Soleimani's not a terrorist in the normal definition. He actually fought ISIS and Al-Qaeda, as I said, and he's been targeting military. That's what he does. That's not terrorism. I'm sorry, he doesn't. Military units are fair game. Our American people are just so arrogant and so, even Judge Deneen, I said, so ill-informed, bending meanings of words. I'm really tired of it. I think most everybody is. And she's not the only one. She's just the one I remember saying some of this ridiculous nonsense. Yeah, Trump might be, or the DOD set him up, or who knows what's going on. But I do know this, and as I said it before, and I sent out a tweet the other day that's been making the rounds. You can't worry about the criminal in your neighbor's house when you've got one looking for you, a criminal, in your house. You better get rid of that one first. As I said from the beginning, Trump needed to clean up our government first, no matter what the cost. Because if he didn't, he would fail in the end. So if you think he had a plan, that this is all part of it, it's not working. It's not working. Which I have to bring up another aspect of this. There was a letter that came out supposedly of the DOD, right, saying that we were going to pull out of Iraq. And then General Milley said, oh, no, that was a draft. You remember this? Of course, it's been making the rounds. When I first saw the letter, I knew there was a problem with it. That's why I didn't talk about it. An unsigned letter from a brigadier general? Nah. Why would there be a draft when you have computer operations now? No, there were all kinds of problems with this. I will say this, with the amount of troop movements that are going on, Rich Higgins called it strategic repositioning. I think that's actually what's going on here. I don't think there is any real idea on President Trump's part. I frankly don't believe it. He would have done it long before this. Or on the Pentagon's part to pull troops out. I think what we're seeing, let me give you an example. When you're in a firefight, okay, you fire and then you roll, you move to another position. Or if you're artillery, sometimes, depending upon the circumstances, you fire a barrage and then you move the equipment to another location so they can't zero in on you. Do you see what I'm saying here? I think what we're seeing is because Iran said they had targeted our assets, right? So what do you do when you know you're targeted? You move. Because it messes up their ranging, messes up their fire control, etc., etc. I think that's what we're seeing. I don't think we're seeing a pullout. Okay? So there's been some confusion on that. But what I see is normal military operations to avoid being targeted. That's what I see. What I do see is that truth is being damned by all sides. That's what I do see. Let's move to something that I heard Dr. Pachinik talking about. And you know how I feel about Dr. Pachinik. I really like Dr. Pachinik, but I also understand that he's a psychiatrist and a spook, a spy. That's a bad combination. So you've got to weigh what he says with what your own analysis is. If you don't, you're going to, not that he intentionally does it, but it's his training. And so you just got to figure it's going to happen. Yeah, I've got coffee this morning. Caramel cream. Okay. You've all seen the pictures of Epstein now with the ligature. It wasn't a hanging. It was a ligature that was obviously a strangulation. And the pictures of the prison cell, anybody who's run a prison facility or been in a prison facility or in any type of law enforcement position, I'm sorry, but a prison cell doesn't look like that as far as all the stuff that was laying around. And there have been people that have been talking about this. I don't want to go off in the weeds on it. All I'm saying is this. I think that was not just for general public consumption, but I think it's to send a message to those who could be implicated if Trump was serious, warning them and telling them that they're okay, that it's going to be okay, that nothing's going to happen. Why do I say that? Dr. Pachinik said that Barr is compromised. I've been saying that for a long time. I pointed out Ruby Ridge, etc. Barr put Epstein in the MCC without the proper precautions. That was his responsibility at that high profile of a subject, and he failed. And I don't think he failed by accident, and I've been saying this for some time. Barr said that it was a suicide. It's obviously not the case. And in the end, as people in the know understand, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because the real issue here is, what was Epstein a part of? What was he doing? Information has come to light that he was working for the intelligence services. I don't care if it was Mossad, CIA, or a conglomeration of them. It doesn't matter. It goes along with what I say on my channel. Our intelligence community is our most dangerous domestic enemy, and it doesn't matter because it is a community, and it even crosses country lines, nation lines. What was Epstein up to? Why would Barr allow this to happen and then insist that we keep the conversation about whether it was a suicide or a murder, or maybe they carted him away? It doesn't matter. Why is Barr doing this? I got to tell you something. If Barr has been in law enforcement and in these types of legal professions for 40 years, and he thinks this is a suicide, he's not as good as people say he is. All right? But that's all prima facie anyway. He put him in the MCC. He didn't ensure that he was in a really, truly maximum security area. And when I say maximum security, I don't mean necessarily on Epstein, other than that he had the proper guards and all that kind of thing. Even if he had to have a special assignment or something. There are ways to have worked that, and he and Trump failed on that. Well, what I'm concerned about here is what I just said a few minutes ago. I think the pictures of the prison were to send a message to people in the pedophile elite network that this isn't going anywhere. And an assurance that it's not going anywhere. The FBI investigating itself, and the Department of Justice, and the prison system? Yeah, I think Jeffrey Epstein was part of the intelligence services. I think he was involved in an operation to blackmail and extort leaders of nations by the intelligence community. Some people say just the Mossad or just whatever. No. Okay, let's keep it real. The intelligence communities are all against us. They are for their own power. They consider themselves a fourth branch of government, right? Isn't that been the whole argument? I mean, we've heard that from even a former CIA FBI director, Webster, who said that the FBI has to remain independent. Oh, yeah? Really? Without oversight? No. There are other mechanisms to ensure that things are done properly, and putting the FBI out there as its own separate branch of government answering to nobody is not the way to do it. So that's what they're after. This is a coup. This is an insurrection. This is a civil war against the people. And Trump might be placating us to keep us sitting back and relaxed, or he might just not have known what was going on and been fooled the whole time, because I'm not impressed. And it's time for him, if he's serious, to tell Barr that he either better put up or shut up, because Barr is helping to cover up this blackmail extortion operation by the intelligence community and safeguarding the evil pedophiles and human traffickers, drug traffickers, weapons traffickers, financial traffickers at the top of the pyramid. That's what he's doing. So if Trump is serious, he needs to do some other things right now. What's the remedy? Man, he's waited way too long. He's waited way too long. The remedy is, as I've said, Article 2, Section 2 and 3, declare, use the Insurrection Act, find a loyal group that will help him do this, and start kicking ass for real. That's what needs to happen. But as I said, I'm not impressed. I'm not certain that anything's going to happen. As Gretchen has just said, justice is gone. Law is politics. Now, there is no rule of law. That phrase is thrown around, especially, well, by everybody, but especially by the Democrats who violate it with impunity, especially the supreme law of the land, the Constitution. So here we are. Is this Sun Tzu or is it chaos? I don't have an answer for you, but I'm leaning more towards that Trump is not in control, and he's lost control because he didn't seize the initiative initially, like I said, for the last 3 years. The only way he can recover, the only way we can recover as a nation, and that's not going to happen. We're balkanized now. We're done. As Rich Higgins said in his thing there, let me go back to that, about the Democrats. He said, due to the ongoing effort of the Marxist left, we are not, in fact, all Americans. How long have I been saying that? This has been torn apart, and there's no reconciliation. So the most important thing is that you get ready for what's coming, that you have the tools, the equipment, the supplies, and the friends that you can make it through this coming storm. And it's not the storm that everybody was hoping it was going to be. It's going to be quite different. In the writings of the middle 1800s, they predicted about how this was all going to go down. They even called China the heathen Chinese that would come in and invade on the West Coast. And essentially, they've already done that. They've been there. Some of these plans called for Europe to come in after the Great Balkanization. They didn't call it that in these old writings, but basically a tear down of the country because they were going to pit Christian against Muslim, men against women, fathers against sons, neighbor against neighbor, state against state. And it wasn't the Civil War of the 1860s that they were discussing. That wasn't it. And that this would become so horrible by design that the European, they said Britain would have to come in because of the terrible slaughter that was taking place. Well, of course, what they're really referring to, of course, is the UN. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been planned for almost, well, closing in on 2 centuries ago. And the evil plan that this is revealing has been the same plan that's been used for at least 6,000 years. And we fall for it every time. Is Trump in a place now? You know, he did great. You know, cleaning out the National Security Council, firing some people in the State Department. That's great. That's great. But unless he starts arresting these perpetrators in this coup and this attempt to overthrow the American Republic, the people of the American people, we can argue about whether we're a republic anymore. I understand that. But unless he starts doing this for real, do I understand the difficulty of that? I do. Do I see an alternative, like this slow moving to try to convince the American people that when he finally moves, it's the right thing to do? No, that's the wrong thing to do. He needs to act, and he needs to act before this gets any further along. I put a note on here, and I've already basically said it, but I'll say it again. There's been so much deceit right now, it is almost impossible to analyze anything with any accuracy. I almost feel like going back and reporting what is happening, obviously, I mean, what the events are, rather than trying to explain why they're happening, because it's just total chaos. It really is. Now, Trump is supposedly the great disruptor, and he's made these genius moves and all of that. Are your First, Second, and Fourth Amendments secured right now? No. Has he gone into Virginia? No. It might be premature for that, but I doubt that anything's being done. So whether Trump means it or not, this chaos that we're in is selling us down the drain. And his failure to act continues to prove to me that we better be ready to take care of ourselves. Now, you're going to be called terrorists, and you're going to be called, not just dissenters, but terrorists because of this. Because unless the leftist Marxists are put down, the shadow government, all of this is put down with force, they're not going to stop. Trump can't reconcile with them. He can't shake hands with them. He can't deal with them. He can't negotiate with them. It's impossible. As Gretchen said of Code of Vets, I have zero faith in our current system. Corruption has overridden justice. I will point out that Jefferson Morley put a tweet out one day, and he said, I'm not going to explain who he is, this is on Twitter. How many American civilians were killed by Iranian-backed terrorists between 2000 and 2019? The answer is 0. What did I say about military targets? I'm not sure he's entirely accurate about that, but he's got the right idea. Jesse Kelly, Mike Cernovich retweeted this. Jesse Kelly on Twitter says, quote, the biggest story from all this Iran stuff is how much support they have inside Iraq. Man, American foreign policy is such a clueless joke. All those lives and all that money, and we created an Iranian vassal state. We've had 40 years of morons running our country, or 40 years of traitors running our country. I know I'm just reading off of some of these things, but I think they're important. Sarah Huckabee said something pretty interesting, and this is why it's a possibility that Trump is attacking the shadow government by attacking the Iranian leadership. All right. Sarah Huckabee says, and of course she was his press secretary for quite some time. I believe she's thinking about running for office. I'm not sure, but I think she is. How many of you are thinking that Qasem Soleimani was the Democrats' bagman in Iran? Are Democrats getting some kickbacks a la Ukraine from that $150 billion Obama so generously gave to the mullahs? Is this why the congressional Democrats are so mad? Well, Sarah, I agree with you, but you're saying just the Democrats. Are you telling me that there are no Republicans that are on that take? Okay, you're probably wondering what's on my screen here. You see a picture of Don Jr. I want to show you something here because Don Jr., as far as I'm concerned, is the real man in all this. Let me show you this. Yeah, I know. This is right on the side where all of your comments are, so I will move it to this side. Well, I thought I was. I'm going to cover myself up here for a minute, okay? Donald Jr. sent this out here, and it's a picture of him with his AR-15 with a Hillary in prison on the magazine. I'll enlarge that for you in a minute, but I wanted to show you that I sent this tweet out, and I said, Donald Trump Jr. is the man, no question ever where he stands. That's a fact. I like Don Jr. a lot, and they've tried to malign him because they see him as a possible runner in the political realm in the future. I have a lot of faith in Donald Trump Jr., more so than I do his dad. But I understand his loyalty to his father. I have no problem with that. Honor thy father and thy mother, and he certainly is. But I wanted to show you that, and now let me show you this. So you can see, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty interesting. I'm going to blow it up pretty big here, so you'll have to pardon me. Okay. There he is there. And he's got this AR-15, and if you look at the magazine, you'll see there's like a grid there. Well, that's Hillary Clinton in prison, in jail. Isn't that a great message? Now, I don't know if that's really the intent of his father at this point, of President Trump, but it was nice to see that, and I would hope that it's a message to tell us that that's still in the realm of possibility, if not action. I'm not saying it is, but I have a lot of faith in Don Jr. So I think he's set a great example, and of course with all this going on in Virginia now, and all of this situation with attacking the Second Amendment. I mean, in the Constitution, the Virginia Constitution, again, headlines with a voice. Nancy Morgan Hart read the part of the Virginia Constitution that guarantees the citizens, the body of civilians, the body of the public, having the arms, and Northam's getting away with this. I mean, even talking about, he should be arrested for seditious speech right now, for sedition right now. He should be, against his own state constitution and against the Constitution of the United States. Where are you, Trump? Barr, I'm just forgetting about him. And again, like I said, Durham might be doing great work, but if Barr puts a kibosh on it, it's not going to go anywhere. Trump has to seize the initiative here and take control. Sometimes, like I said, I wish Don Jr. was there instead of Donald Trump Sr. So that's all I got for you today. I wanted to just go through some of those things because some of you were wondering why I was laying low. It wasn't that I was laying low. It's like I said, this is the time of year that I travel a lot. I see friends, relatives, and yet I realize how important things are. Bad stuff can happen during the Christmas breaks, as we all know, and there's some other problems that have to be addressed. I haven't given you any answers this morning. I've given you more to think about. But I don't trust anybody on either side anymore. What I mean on either side, I mean people that are the rah Trumpers, no matter what he does is okay. And of course all those who go boo, boo, boo all the time, no matter what he does, okay? You can't trust either side. I don't trust Judge Jeanine anymore. When she talks about Soleimani, doesn't know what she's talking about. Oh my gosh. You know, those are the types of things. I'm just losing faith in the whole thing, just like Gretchen said. So then, again, what is the only thing that we can do? Ladies and gentlemen, we're Americans. Despite what the governments are trying to do to make us their subjects, we have to stand up and be ourselves. We have to be Americans. We have to be independent. We have to tell the government to go itself, because nobody else is going to do it. Trump hasn't even done it. The government is not God. It seems like to me I heard, didn't President Trump say, we worship God, not government? Really? Well, if you worship God, then you stand on principle, come hell or high water. And he hasn't done that. I'm not saying he can't. I'm not saying he won't. I'm saying I got to see it to believe it. Okay. Let's take a few comments here. Edelson James, I just see yours. You're at the end of this thing, of course. Thanks for being here, Edelson, by the way. He says, the people we looked up to are failing us. We have to stand up and be Americans. Do you know what that means? Yeah, I do. And I think most people do. And this is not going to go well. Just for saying stuff like that, even the current FBI and DOJ under Trump will consider you a dissident and a possible domestic extremist by just saying things like what we're talking about. Do you think they care about Antifa? Do you think they care about the Democrats, the leftist Marxists? No, they are the leftist Marxists. That's what I've been saying. They've had 90% of the FBI isn't good. Richard Higgins knows some good ones, so do I. But that doesn't mean they're all good. No, they've had 30 plus years to put these leftist Marxists in there, to choose them. It's not just the top of the FBI. Yeah, we've got a problem. Okay, I'm going to run back up to the top here as far as I can, okay? You guys always have good things to talk about. I'm not going to repeat a lot of this because we've already been going for 45 minutes. Yeah, Storali, you're exactly right. Harry Reid did say that the intelligence agency should give Trump fake info. So there we are. I'm glad you pointed that out. Yeah, he did say that. He said Trump should just be given fake intelligence reports. Now, Trump came out later and said, well, I'm not listening to them anyway. I've got my own intel. Yeah? Well, okay. YouTube says, wrong, Roy boy, you are so wrong. Okay. All right. Like I said, you can disagree with me, but that isn't going to make things any better, is it? We're trying to talk about the issues, about what the negatives and the positives are. And the positives are the negatives are starting to go like this, and the positives are starting to drop like bricks. I hope I am wrong. I would like nothing better, but I'm not going to depend upon Trump. You can't. The Senate is still up in the air. My Republican insider called me the other day and he said, Roy, these people that are saying that the Senate is all sewn up for Trump, they're being foolish. I'm worried. I don't see that as the case at all. And I agree. So, what's your name? YouTube? Who are you listening to? What's your source? A letter? An anonymous person that you've never heard of, never seen their face, don't know their real name? Okay. Good for you. Yeah, Trump is, Edelson James, yeah, Trump is being lied to all the time. But, he can no longer use that as an excuse, Edelson. It's like I said, the learning curve was the first 6 months. After that, he has no excuses. He needs to fire Barr like right now. Just say, I don't need you anymore. Out. You're gone. Bye. During break, during the recess, McConnell and Trump could have brought a whole bunch of people up to fill those vacancies. Why didn't it happen? Why? Yeah, Murray Rothbeard. People don't want to admit we have to get rid of the FBI and CIA. They have to be taken down. They have to be dismantled. The marshals need to take over that. As far as what the FBI does, at least I'm not saying the marshals are great either, but the FBI is just really bad. And the CIA, that can be taken over by military intelligence operations. Steve Pachinik talks about that all the time. Booger Dog. That's an interesting name. Anyway, says Trump lost control when the GOP forced Paul Ryan Coke Pond to run the show. By March 2017, those of us involved realized POTUS wasn't running anything. That's the way it's turned out, isn't it? What happened to the plan? Oh, the plan. Look how weak you are so that you can hit them right when they're not expecting it. Has that happened? No. No. Trump has been on the retreat for a long time. You're absolutely right. Me Crazy Lala says, yeah, but I don't like my friends. Well, there's old saying, you know, a person that has many friends is a fool. A person that has like two friends, good friends, is fortunate. So I kind of understand what you're saying. Let's see who this is here. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Ed McIntosh, that's exactly right. You know, he keeps talking about the economy. Look. One of the big things he said in a couple of speeches and on Twitter the other day, Trump I'm talking about, he says, we have responding to these threats by Iran, right? We have the strongest military. We've spent $2 trillion making our military strong with new equipment. Well, let's see. Who runs the military? The military industrial complex, which is what? The deep state, which is what? The shadow government, which is what? It's not the American people. In other words, everything that Trump has done to say he's making the country stronger, whether it be economically or militarily, who has it benefited? You? The American people? Oh, your money may be doing well, your investments and all that, but what about your freedoms? What about your liberties? What about your trust in government? Gretchen Smith, I don't trust it anymore. What's happened? Are they deliberately making us lose faith in our government so that when they destroy it, we'll just say tough luck and there go our liberties as well? Well, that really happened a long time ago. That's why I say Trump, if he's not acting, as you're pointing out here, the real progress has been zero. Nobody's in jail for their coup plotting, you know. Obama's shadow government headquarters, just a mile down from, maybe less than that, from the White House, is still operational. Nobody's kicked in the doors and arrested any of the traitors and seditionists in there. No. Barr still covering up. Again, it's not how did Epstein die, it's who was Epstein and what were his connections and who's being protected. Nothing. 9/11? Any truth out coming out of 9/11? No. Any truth about Las Vegas? No. We need to get ready to take care of ourselves, and this is not going to be easy. This is not going to be easy. Ed McIntosh has posted this several times. Thank you, Ed. I hope you know that I did see it. Again, I'll just read it again in case you missed. He says, Roy, it seems clear that after all the time in office and allowing the opposition to control and manipulate the agenda, he has accomplished almost nothing. No progress here in any positive way. Yes, that's true. I agree 100%. You know, again, the economy thing, I travel the country a lot, and I see what's happening. Small businesses, and even some of the larger ones, are closing every day. Oh, it's the internet traffic that now has taken up that retail market. Well, that's partially true, but regardless, it's still a problem. If mom and pops aren't doing well, the economy is going to tank eventually. Okay? Yeah, Angler Strong, I agree. What has Barr done? Protecting Comey, making more trouble for the Bundys, lying to us, saying Epstein killed himself. You get my drift. Exactly. Yeah, went after Roger Stone, hasn't dismissed that, nor the Flynn situation. He doesn't like the first. Well, he's never said that, but he has said he doesn't like the Second and Fourth Amendments. Trump just allows him to, run slipshod over all of us. I like that, Edelson James, and that's what I'm saying. When I say to rely upon yourselves, it really is a thing now between each of us and God. It really is. And I don't care, I don't make a big issue about, you have to espouse a certain dogma or belief or whatever. The point is that you don't have, you trust in a higher power, and hopefully it's a good one, not an evil one, right? So I think the bottom line is just as you're saying, all of you, your salvation is via God. Pray for peace, pray for wisdom, vision, knowledge. Nothing can defeat God. I got to put out a caveat there, though, Edelson, because I know how God sometimes operates. When you ask for wisdom and understanding, it isn't just downloaded into you. That's how most of us expect it's going to happen, that it's just going to be this automatic. And I mean, sometimes it is. Sometimes you will have that, a flash of revelation or understanding at the real elementary level that carries you through. That can happen, but more often than not, when you ask for wisdom and understanding and knowledge, the way you get it is by what? Experience. It's not just a download. I'm not saying it can't happen that way. Sometimes, you'll have a flash of pure knowledge. But by and large, as you go through life, how you learn wisdom, understanding, etc., is by experiencing good and evil, right, wrong. I had a sage once tell me, if your dad tells you to go out and build a fence, as long as you're doing fairly well, he's not going to interfere with you. It's only when you get way, way off the course that he's going to come out and say, hey, So by and large, you're going to learn by your own experience, despite what all the preachers tell you. That's the program, with an occasional flash of pure knowledge. That's how it happens. Yeah, go call your family, me crazy Lala. I think that's great. That's a positive move for sure. Nancy M, I know it says the people that say don't do anything, that's what they want are shills. Now be careful here. Be careful here. Nancy M. Wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. Prep, pray, stay out of the way. Yes, we have to do something, but unfortunately the ballot box that everybody's talking about, this is going to work out in the ballot box. No, it's not going to work out at the ballot box. It's not. We've used the ballot box and it's been corrupted so that things still fall apart. Trump signed that executive order about the election fraud and all that. What's been done on it? This isn't an Illuminati sign. I'm trying to make a big, fat zero. Nothing. Nada. More words, no action. And yet we're told that we have to trust that. No, we have to get ready to be standing on our own. Hopefully, like those sheriffs in Virginia that are saying they're not going to enforce this unconstitutional, both the Virginia Constitution and the U.S. Constitution, they're not going to follow that unconstitutional law. We need local people that will do that as well. This isn't going to go well. We're all going to be considered, even though they're the traitors and the seditionists, the leftist Marxists, they're going to say we are because Trump failed to act. Who else are you going to blame? Jack Kennedy, I know what you're saying. All he did was move chess pieces out. They're not fired. I know what you're saying. You're talking the NSC, that's right. All he did is he moved some of those people out. I realize that's the case. However, there is some indication, and I don't have it personally, I've just heard about it, that they've actually gotten rid of some people in the State Department. But again, as you're pointing out, it probably wasn't a fire, it wasn't a termination like out of employment. You're probably right about that. It's very hard to without declaring the Insurrection Act and actually jailing these bastards and bitches. Yeah, he's just moving chairs around on the Titanic. You're right. I agree. You're right. Batterista, yeah, look who supports and surrounds Trump. Enough said. I know. When people say they support Trump and want to support our president, they're talking about they're trying to project onto Trump their own goodness, their own principles of the Constitution, of the perfect law of liberty, and all that. But Trump despite his rhetoric, he has not proven that he's standing for that. I'm sorry, he has not. And we can give him all kinds of excuses. The people that are around him, they're stopping his agenda and all this stuff. Hey, the buck stops at the president's desk. Jane Swinford. Roy, we really have no way to know what is going on behind the scenes. That I'm not saying I disagree with you. I've kind of said that myself here today. But there's still indications. When you see people going to jail that shouldn't, when you see people not going to jail that should, Sun Tzu is the idea of make your enemy think you're weak and then hit him hard. I'm sorry, Jane, but we're past that. That there's a point at which that no longer works. There's a point at which that your refusal to act actually gives moral courage to the enemy to attack you stronger. I'm sorry, but you're wrong. But let me read what you said here. Roy, we really have no way to know what is going on behind the scenes. And I don't remember who said it, but someone said Trump looks like he is losing right up to the point where he wins. I'm not going to sugarcoat what's going on here. I'm not going to give you false hope. A lot of people said that he would just have to kind of limp through his first term, and then when he gets in his second term, that's when all the action will occur. Nancy M. again, when they started busing the Muslims into America wholesale after they pulled off 9/11, that was a good clue. You're right. Yeah. Cultures can't exist in multiculturalism. We were sold this diversity baloney many decades ago, and it was all designed to break us up. If you want to experience multiculturalism, you go to another country or another community, right? You destroy culture by turning it into too much of a melting pot. Now, I realize the United States was that to an extent, but you came here to be an American. You came here to believe in the perfect law of liberty. At least that's what we thought we were doing. David Quintana. I can't disagree with you. Trump has turned the presidency into a reality show, and we all fell for it. Can't disagree with you. Ida Shoemaker. Good point. Trump said he gave Barr full control. Another do-nothing Sessions. Jack Kennedy, order through chaos, the Bolshevik motto. Of course, who else's motto is that? Illuminati. Frozen Marauder, I like your statement. I know times are poor, though we must not become black-pilled. It's essential we remain positive no matter how things look. Yeah. In other words, you act positively with all the negative around you. There's an old saying, that you keep your head when everybody else is losing theirs. But remaining positive doesn't mean that you have faith in somebody who's shown you that you can't have faith in them, that you can't have hope in them. Scripturally, it says, faith is the substance of things, the evidence of things unseen. Has to be tangible, has to be real, you have to be able to experience. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. In other words, they happen. The evidence of things unseen. In other words, they become tangible, they become real, they become articulable. You know, they're there. It's not some ethereal thing, okay? So to remain positive means you remain positive and keep doing the right things, but that doesn't mean that you can't recognize that these promises and hopes aren't happening that have been made. Okay, that's realism. That's pragmatism. Virginia, Charlotte train. I've already talked about that to some extent. Yeah, this is a problem. Trump's not act. I could talk about Virginia. People say, well, Roy, why don't you go there? No, because I'm not going to go give my support into a place where that's their problem, which is our problem too. But we're going to have those problems where all of us are. This is a beta test in Virginia. This is to see how far they can go. And if the Virginia governor succeeds in this, you know Trump sold you down the drain on purpose. Barr certainly is. Barr doesn't believe in the Second Amendment. The people are the ultimate arbiters of their liberties, of the Constitution. The government wants you to think that you're a citizen of them, a subject of them. No, it's the other way around. But they have all the guns. We've allowed them to get all this power because it was convenient for us to do so. So Virginia, yeah, Trump needs to act. He needs to go in there and arrest the governor and a lot of those legislators and any judges or the AG, anybody there who is defying not only their state constitution but the Constitution of the United States. Just like Eisenhower did when he went down to the South. Same thing. And again, on the Virginia thing, that's about the gun situation, but also about the baby situation because of Northam. So why aren't we doing this to save the most innocent amongst us? This is evil, ladies and gentlemen, and Trump's allowing it to happen, as I've said. Oh, he can't help it? He's only got so much power? My retort to that is, as it always has been, he asked for the job. He said he could do the job, and we hired him to do it. There are ways for him to get around this, and he's refused to do them. I'm sorry, but that's just the fact. He has refused to act. Virginia is going to be a real barometer about where he really is. I mean, all this nonsense of all this international baloney, which I said was a mistake to get involved in that. I mean, you have some international things you have to do, but unless he cleaned out his house first, he can't be going and cleaning out anybody else's. I've used that analogy for a long time because many of the world's problems originate from D.C., New York, and London. Yeah, China too, but that's because we keep inviting those Chinese here, which is, again, our people in D.C., London, New York. As a matter of fact, somebody put this, I wish I had loaded it this morning. Let me see if I can find it, because it's absolutely true. Where did I put it? Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to see this, but let me see if you can. I wish I'd put this on our site this morning. You see that? You probably can't see what it says. Let's see if I can put it right here. Yeah, let me just read it to you. It's John Adams, and he said this: "Trust no man living with power to endanger the public liberty." Write that down. Trust no man living with power to endanger the public liberty. And John Quincy Adams said this: America does not go abroad in search of monsters to destroy. She is the well-wisher to freedom and independence of all. She is the champion and vindicator only of her own. Well, at John Quincy Adams' time, that was the hope and dream that that's how it would end up, and of course we haven't. We've entangled ourselves. We've tried to go out and build an empire rather than being a light in the world for people to come to escape all this horror in the world. We've become the promoter of the horror. It's very discouraging. Trump needs to start, he was having some of those kind of like fireside chats, he was going to start down that road. He needs to do it again. He needs to, as Lionel says, he needs to come up with the Trump channel. If he's really serious about turning this around, he has to think outside the box and start doing the right thing. It's not happening. Yeah, Batterista, again, I remember Trump getting an ovation there in CIA headquarters the first time he went. Yeah, he buttered him up. He didn't tell him. I mean, of course, that's only what we saw, what was public consumption. Did he tell him off behind the scenes? Probably not. Edelson James, very, very, very true. He says, I have never seen a moment in history where a communist or socialist revolution succeeds without drastic measures, violence. That has not occurred yet. Be ready. That's right. They're just at the beginning stages of this. They are. Yeah, empty pot. That's what I'm saying. Constitutionalists have been categorized by the FBI as terrorists. That's exactly what I'm saying. And yet they were supposed to have taken an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. You see how they changed it? It's become illegal for you to defend and stand up for your God-given rights. I agree. Or to demand the federal government be confined to the lands that in D.C. or the lands that it has purchased from the states. I know. Or that every state is supposed to have a Republican form of government. I know. We've been sold out. And Trump said he could fix it. And it's not that he couldn't have, it's that he just... Yeah, Smitty, that's right. See, you understand history a little bit. The establishment has been trying to get Iran back since their puppet Shah was exiled in '79. Yep. And they've gotten in and manipulated the mullahs. Don't think that they haven't. But yeah, it's like I've said all along. Iran is just a way into Russia. That's really all it is. Saudi Arabia is more of a problem than Iran. Iran didn't attack us on 9/11. And people say, well, Saudi Arabia didn't either. They were just from Saudi Arabia. If you'll remember, the next day, Bush was flying bin Ladens and other Saudis out of the country when nobody else could fly. Saudi Arabia doesn't like Iran, yet Saudi Arabia and Israel have this very interesting relationship, and I've explained that before. They're the same people looking like they're at odds with one another. They're not. It's a Mutt and Jeff routine. Okay, we've been going for an hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to bust through these real quick. Sorry I didn't get any further. Oh, what's this? Yeah, oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Fly fishing says Sarah is right. She means Sarah Huckabee. Or flying fishing means Sarah is right. Yeah. Yeah, Edelson, I keep quoting you because you do reflect how I feel. Because people have accused me of waffling on Trump, supporting him and not. So, well, I go for principle, not personality, as everybody knows. I'm not an cult of personality. I expect principle and results. And you say here, Edelson James, I still am holding out for Trump to act, but do not count on it. God is the only answer. And that's the way it is. We keep trying to push him in the right direction, and he's not listening. Or if he is, he's not acting. Poppy Russell, he says, I think Trump is prepping for Don Jr. to come in and do cleanup. Dad exposes, son cleans up. Uh, they're not going to let that happen. Do you understand that? That ain't going to happen. Not now. Not now. Not unless Trump does something real dramatic in the next little while. He cannot end his tenure in office without jailing the leftist Marxists, seditionists, and traitors and coup plotters. He can't. And I don't mean just a few, like a handful. That's not going to work. And if he doesn't do that, there's no way they're going to allow Don Jr. to get in. It ain't going to happen. I'm sorry, but that's not how it's going to work. I've been saying for a long time that the object was to get a war started in Iran, right? Whether Trump was lassoed into it, fooled into it, or whatever, the point is he needed to stay away from that. Yeah, you're right, Aaron McHugh. Patriots must get a victory in Virginia. People need to go down or they will regroup and attack from another vector. I agree. See, this is where they fooled us. That any action by Americans is somehow domestic terrorism or criminal. The government is not God. Trump said that, and yet he allows the Virginia government to do what it's doing. Not a peep from Trump on this. Not a peep. Oh, we're going to save your Second Amendment. You're going to have, I'm going to guarantee. I'm going to make sure that you have your Second Amendment. Let's see. Butt stock ban, red flag laws, Virginia, California, Oregon, Washington State, Washington, D.C. You get my point? Joe Buddy says, just give up and go away then. Trump is all we got. I think you're saying that out of frustration. But maybe you're right. Maybe we should just pack up and go away. Scriptures. And they made war, the dragon made war with the saints. The beast made war with the saints and prevailed. wear out the saints of the Most High, deceive us. If Trump is all we have, that's our fault. Okay. I'll leave it there. Hopefully the sound at least was okay on this. I noticed a few problems here and there as we were going along. At least my program was telling me that there were problems. I don't know if there actually were, but it seemed like that there were some problems with the microphone. It's jumping quite a bit. I don't know why. It's probably the location here. Okay. Hey, thanks everybody for coming today. I appreciate you being here. I just wanted to cover those things. Again, recapping, I suppose, what we need to do here is understand that people are throwing terms around that don't match up to the reality. Soleimani is not a terrorist, was not a terrorist. He did not do terrorist things. Not anything I can find as I search it out. Okay? He attacked military targets. He fought ISIS and Al-Qaeda. There's something else going on here. And I don't like what I'm hearing. Barr is covering up for the intelligence community, not just to protect the institution of the DOJ and FBI any longer. That's not all he's doing. He is protecting the really guilty, the elites who are guilty of all of these different trafficking and RICO things, whether it be child trafficking, pedophilia, human trafficking, financial shenanigans, paybacks from foreign governments, milking the American aid, whatever it is. He's helping to cover that up. And he's covering up the extortion and the blackmail by Epstein's and his entire organization, what he was doing to blackmail and extort government leaders. Barr is now a co-conspirator in that, and he's covering it up. That's how I view Barr. Okay? That's where I am. Thanks, everybody, for coming. You'll probably see me in a few days, I imagine. Okay? We'll see. Out here for now.